And most succinctly, before they began to even give you a name. Initially, the name of this land was predicated upon the different languages. Check your history, folks. Don't just listen to the lie. And because of the different languages, and because it was now the contrast to the old world, it was referred to as the New World. But that name didn't really give it any kind of recognition as the New World. So here we have an Italian, actually two Italians. But the one most notably that the name America has been attributed to was an Italian explorer, Amerigo Vespucci, I believe it is. I'm not Italian, so I can't pronounce the words properly. But it was an Italian explorer who this land is named after, because he even referred to it as the fourth part of the world. They knew the African, the old world continents. And all of a sudden, they stumble across this land, this new world, that they began to call fourth part, the fourth part of the world. The fourth part. So you see, ignorance prevailed even in the beginning of the formulation of this land. So America, within its own right, is not true. Then secondly, they say United States, united, which is somewhat similar to, synonymous with union. You'll hear them say, in order to form a more perfect union. Now, union means for folks to be united together. We have unions of different labors, organizations, but one of the most powerful one is the police union, the Police Benevolent Association, who never ever comes out against racial, how can I say, racial abuses, regardless of how blatant their members are. They stand behind them. In one word or another, you can say that they are united. Oh, there's a point, and I'm going to get to it very quickly. So, we're not United States, because after the Civil War and prior to the Civil War, it was demonstrated that each one of the states was sovereign. They were autonomously connected to one another, but nothing gave them any unity. They had no united fronts. They had no same beliefs. Each one operated autonomously of the other. But in order to share in the wealth, having lost to the North, and it was not about slavery, folks. It was all about economics. Be not deceived. Slavery was just one of the talking points that happened to bring a lot of, if you will, rally to the cause of the North, even bringing in slave soldiers who fought valiantly, but then were allowed to be slaughtered in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Never taken as prisoners of war, but as if they were some kind of terrorist group, and they were slaughtered in Chattanooga, Tennessee. But slavery. Let's just look at slavery for a moment here, saints. Well, maybe I shouldn't call you saints, folks. Slavery. Slavery came about only because the original slaves, the Europeans, primarily the Irish people, who came over with indentured servitude or another form of slavery to do the work for the elite and for the aristocrats. But they were unable to handle the heat of the South. They were unable to be the kind of workers they looked for free. So they found out, well, let's go get the uneducated indigenous people of the continent of Africa, the hunters and gatherers. Will be easy. They'll be easy to be conditioned, classical conditioning. We'll be able to change their minds to believe in what we want them to believe by way of fear. Fear began on Bunce Island and other places in Sierra Leone and Liberia, Nigeria, even in Ghana, where they held the slaves, West Africa, before shipping them off like some other kind of commodity or livestock to a land that they knew nothing of. They've been captured, and now they're being put in the belly of a boat, a big ship, and they start a long journey in the hold or the belly of the ship where they would keep all of their type of cargo. Now their cargo, they're human beings, chained together, shoulder to shoulder, feet to feet, head to head, chained on the floor of the belly of that boat, those ships. No provisions for going to relieve themselves of their bodily functions. They just had to do it. And then they had to lay in it for that whole voyage, until ultimately they bring them up top and spray them with salt water and put them back down. Only because the stench was too great for the crew. But think about it. Urine from other slaves, some of whom brought you to the boat. They too were captured. Their urine is running underneath your body. And you have to lay in it. And then when you come to a land that you didn't know the language, didn't know the layout of the land, so now you're unable to speak your language anymore. You're whipped, and you work from sunup to sundown with no pay and treated no better than their finest horses that they would breed. But I made a statement recently to a friend of mine, very good friend, about consider the females on board. Consider twice a month their bodies had to excrete the waste from their reproductive systems. Talking about their cycle, their menstrual cycles. They didn't have any way to clean themselves. They didn't have any way to catch the waste, the blood. So it just ran out and they had to lay in it. Can you imagine that? This is the real deal, folks. Not this sugar-coated way of trying to tell you what happened. And then on top of all of that, they didn't have enough provisions for the slaves to make the crossing. So they would pull them up on deck, check them out like a horse, and throw the ones that they thought would not be valuable overboard. Just threw them over into the sea to drown. The women, they would dance with them, and then they would rape them and throw them overboard. Now these are the same folks, our ancestors, that they tell us today, I don't know why you feel the way you feel. I don't know why you're so upset. I have some of my friends, and I call them friends, I'm not too sure now, ask me, well, Brother Sam, I don't understand. Well, you don't want to understand. As the saying goes, you don't want to hear the truth. So I'm now beginning to tell you the truth. You never asked me how I felt, so I'm telling you how I feel. I feel violated. I feel that I've been deceived. to believe that this was one nation, united together so that there would be liberty and justice for all, that we would be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I was deceived. And now I'm hurt and I'm angry. But you know something? I cannot fight this battle, even though I have been trained to fight, and I've been fighting all my life. But this time, as it were with David, God spoke to him, you won't fight the way you fought before, David. I'm paraphrasing. This time, you're going to fight a new way. Flesh and blood cannot come up against this enemy. Only God can handle this. Oh yes, I feel overwhelmed. But you know what? I know that I need God's protection. I need God's hand upon me to keep me from doing something stupid. To do something that's not going to avail of anything. To burn up buildings, not going to change a thing. To burn up cars, it's not going to change a thing. Yes, to walk in peaceful protest, it will change. A whole world is now aware of our plight. But to burn buildings, it's not going to change a thing. Burning up the Wendy's where the young man lost his life, it's not going to change a thing. They'll just build a new Wendy's because they have insurance to cover it. But I know that I must now, as I come to a close, I must put all of my need into the hands of the Most High God, the only source of all of my help. My help cometh from the Lord, who made heavens and the earth. And as the psalmist says, in a psalm I love to read, actually it's a song, but we don't know how to sing them, so the divisions of psalms, we read them. And I'll read this one to you. And it's taken from the 56th division of Psalms. A psalm, not psalms, but psalm. 56, verse 3. In God I trust. I shall not be afraid. I put my trust in you. Paraphrase mine, in you, Father. The psalmist also said in Psalm 56:11, in God I trust. I shall not be afraid. What can man do to me? And that's my daily affirmation. What can you do to me? I'm a 75-year-old man who has seen everything 3 or 4 times over what the average man has seen or have experienced in life. What can you do to me? So I just stand on the rampart. I continue to stand watch and to speak a warning as I am today, because I am not afraid of you. The psalmist says, my soul is in the midst of lions. I lie down amid fiery beasts, the children of man whose teeth are spears and arrows, whose tongues are sharp swords. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. Psalm 57, 4-5. Yes, I feel overwhelmed.